Okay, why don't we get going? Do you want to, yes?
All right, welcome everybody. Congratulations.
Yes.
You're all finished.
Don't look so happy.
On behalf of MCA, we just want to say thank you to Jay for being our volunteer with Moses, for volunteering all his time. It is National Volunteer Week, and we've given him a little gift. We've sat here on the table. We decided he's had enough of financial literacy books, so we gave him a book of poetry from a local author. And just a little thank you inside the card here.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And
Yes.
usually we have a couple stragglers, so we're just going to get started because we have a special guest with us from RBC. We have Sue Mingott here, and she will take part in the ceremony and hand out the certificate to them and see what's going on. All right. Well, welcome. Let's get this show on the road so we can have some snacks.
Okay, good. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, so here we are, the last week. Now, this is the last week. Those of you who were in level 1 a few weeks ago, you graduated from there. But this is the last time. So how do you feel? Okay? Good? Yeah? Excellent? Confident? Great to hear. That's what we want to hear. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing that we usually do. We'll start within the news, then we'll go through a short summary of what we learned in level 2, and then we'll have the graduation. Okay, so let's start. What's been in the news? What's been going on? Go ahead.
The government has put out their budget.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the things that caught my attention was their way of trying to help younger people get into homes.
Yeah.
But it only applies to new people.
It applies, yeah, so it applies to new homes,
New homes,
right? And new homeowners,
new homeowners.
right? Yeah.
Exclude a lot of possibilities for new families wanting to get into that older home, smaller home, or something else. Hopefully it's really going to benefit in the end, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, so the government, I think what they tried to do is target a younger market, if you will. And they're very specific about, but they are going to be building quite a few homes or accommodations over the next 5 years. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. A lot of people are saying, you know, the average family that's not in that situation, right? They're still not going to be maybe able to afford it, right? Has it come too late? That's what some people are complaining about. But yeah, they're spending a lot of money on housing. And that's been going on for the last couple of months. They've talked about all of this on housing, which is kind of interesting, right? What else came out in the budget that people saw? There was something really big.
Increase of taxes in the way of trying to target the wealthier population.
Yeah. So how do they do that? Because as we know, whenever they want to increase revenues, they target certain groups, certain income levels. So what do you mean by wealthy people? What are they doing?
It'll be
Capital gains.
capital gains will be higher, and they're expecting that to be for the wealthy.
Okay, so yeah, so capital gains, remember, is you get taxed on what percentage of your capital gain? 50%, right? So if you have a rental property or you sell some shares, the money that you make is called a capital gain. and the government is only going to tax you on half of that gain, right? Which is encouraging to us because they want us to invest, right? We invest in the stock market, we invest in real estate, those type of things, okay? But what they're doing is they're targeting, again, they're saying they're going after the wealthy. And what they said is that it's typically 50% of a capital gain that you're going to be taxed on. Well, they said that it's going to go up to 70, is it 75 or 60? Yeah, I think it was at 75 or 66.7. I think it was 66.7. Let me just make sure. Capital gain. Just give me 1 sec here. Gain budget. Yes, pay tax. Okay. 1 second here. For corporations and trust. Let's see here. Yeah, it's going up to 67%. So what it means, okay, is that if you make more than $250,000 of a capital gain, okay, the first 250 is going to be taxed at 50%, okay? But anything over that is going to be taxed at 67%, okay? So what it means is for those individuals that are wealthy enough to have investments, they're going to be taxed a bit higher. Okay? So not good news for people that have invested. Now, this doesn't apply to your principal residence. Okay, when you sell it, this is only on investments. Yeah. Anything else on the budget? Yeah, they're running a deficit. They run a deficit every year. So a deficit means that they plan to spend more money than they're taking in, right? And that's going to be added to the national debt, which continues to increase, right?
I just heard that the liberal government is looking at a way to allow mortgages where in Muslim law it's against the religion to charge interest. So the Muslim population.
That's right. Yeah.
So instead of the population, obviously for the vote.
Well, he's doing things to help that segment of society, which is okay. But yeah, that's in there too. But I was kind of reading something interesting about this because this gets into spending, right? Because this is what the government is doing. Continues to spend money, puts more money into our debt load, right? But one of the finance ministers from Ontario was saying that I just don't think you can tax your way to prosperity. Because this is what's really happening, right? You want the fast track to prosperity? This is what it is. And it doesn't include spending. But this is what the government's trying to do, right? Again, trying to get elected. There's only, less than a year left, right? So they come out with a budget. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with spending money on programs and infrastructure that we need. But when you get into just more and more debt, eventually someone will have to pay for that. And like we said, it's targeting these people now, but at some point, it's going to move down to the middle class, right? So, okay. Anything else that's going on? Okay. Canadians pay the highest cell phone bills. Okay. I heard that's going down though.
I just heard it on the news and I can't remember what channel, but it was last night. We pay some of the highest taxes and we can pay the highest cell phone bill.
It's going down for a certain part of the population.
Okay.
One of the rules that put in place a few years ago was you must, for the cell phone companies, you must lower the fees. But the fees were only lowered for not every day. So you have to be a certain portion of the population to lower fees, but overall, it's still higher than Australian phone.
Right.
$30 a month for unlimited data and international calls.
Yeah. Well, most places around the world, I think some of you that come from different countries know that it's really cheap everywhere else. Yeah. I think they did put something in the budget. This is again to, try to make us happy as citizens because we do pay the highest cell phones in the world, is that you can now, I think, online, you can actually cancel your cell phone plan without paying a penalty, which is okay, but big deal. Okay, anything else? What else is going on? Yeah, the thing around the budget, right? Listen to that provincial and federal budget every year because a lot of the things that happen there really affect you and I, right? And our children. Okay, so let's start with the class here. So what we'll do, so what we've done over the course of the program, obviously, is lesson 1, we talked about the concept of money, our core values around money, our goals. Lesson 2 was around how to measure and control your finances. So in terms of determining where you are today. Lesson 3 was on how to pick stocks. Right, we went through a couple of weeks of that. Lesson 4 was on how to evaluate a private offering. So these are offerings that come to you, right? Then lesson 5 was on real estate. We spent a couple of weeks on real estate, on how to get into the real estate market. Then we talked about multiple streams of income, ways to make income on the internet, having a home-based business. Then we finally talked about cryptocurrencies. Was that good last week? Yeah, learned a lot? Exactly. And you got to talk about cryptocurrencies because it's here, right? Doesn't mean that you have to invest in it, but you have to know what's kind of going on because a lot of the technology is going to affect us in terms of the blockchain and AI. So today we're going to just do a summary of the things that we've learned over the last few weeks. Okay, so the first one, interesting enough, is continue to listen to the business news. So let me just get a copy of the... Yeah, continue to listen to the news. Hopefully you've, over the last few weeks, you've got into the habit of listening to the news and seeing how it connects to the things that we've talked in class. And if you think about it, if you would have read the budget that came out, a lot of those things have applications to everything that we've talked about in class, right? Capital gains, taxes, real estate, interest rates, right? All those type of things all have an impact. So it's really important. So why do you want to continue to listen and read the business news? Well, obviously, some of those world events, things that are happening locally, provincially, nationally, affect you or your family situation, right? Especially when it comes to, again, the budgets and the Bank of Canada either increasing or decreasing The interest rate, anybody know when the next announcement is on the interest rates? June 4th, right? Yeah. Should be interesting to see what happens. Okay? But the other reason you should listen to the news and read the news is because in there you can see there's opportunities. Right? There's opportunities that can come up that kind of jog your mind about, should I look at this opportunity? Should I look at this company as a potential investment? Should I get into real estate? Where should I buy? Right? All those type of things are in the news when it comes to business. And of course, it increases your financial literacy. Right? Applying the things that we've talked about over the last few weeks, and then reading, listening to the news and seeing how it fits, that increases your financial literacy. Okay? It's kind of interesting. Anybody know RFK Jr.? Ever heard of him? Robert Kennedy? Okay? He's a politician in the States. His dad was assassinated, Robert Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy, his uncle, was also assassinated. He was the president of the United States. So I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and right now he's actually running for the candidacy in the Democratic Party in the States. Okay, so he was on the podcast. And the whole Kennedy family is kind of interesting, right? If you followed them over the years, they're very powerful political family. And the interviewer asked him, you know, from your childhood, tell me, like, why you guys so much into politics? Like, your family's powerful and that. And he said, because there was a big family, they used to get together for dinners. And once the kids turned about 10 to 12, they were responsible to talk about what was happening politically in the States around the dinner table. And he said, that's my memory of growing up. Our family was always interested in politics, but that's what we did. So it's kind of took me back to the same thing about what we're trying to do here, right? If you talk about what's happening in the news and you become current, you're going to gain financial literacy just like that family has gained political acumen over the years. Right? So continue to listen to the news with that in mind. Look for opportunities. Okay. Next is, who are you listening to? So when it comes to listening, reading, that type of thing, listen to people that have what you want. So over the last few weeks, I've talked to you about some different books for you to read. Anybody read some of those books? Good. Hopefully you put them in your... And remember my guarantee, if you read those books and you don't learn anything from that, I'll pay for your book. Okay? Including the book that you'll be getting tonight, okay? You're getting that for free. Hopefully you'll learn something from that one too. But Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. One of the best books that you can read. Again, the power of positive thinking, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, okay? Obviously very important for just basic financial literacy. Talked about Tools of Titans, Tim Ferriss. Those of you that want to, have you heard of Tim Ferriss? Who has? No? I'm sorry? Yeah, the 4-Hour Work Week. Yeah, that's right. Tim Ferriss, you should actually write his name down and subscribe to his, it's called the 5-Bullet Friday. And what it is, so Tim Ferriss, what he does, he's very successful, but he interviews everybody, rabbis, athletes, politicians, everybody, successful people, and he wants to understand why they're successful, and then he tries to emulate what they do. But every Friday, he comes out with books that he's read, videos that he's seen, products that he buys. It's called Tim Ferriss 5-Bullet Friday. Really good. The Magic of Thinking Big, which is another good book, and then Multiple Streams of Income, which we talked about. Now, there's a few other books that I want you to put in your library. I talked about this, I think maybe in level 1, but Dave Ramsey. You guys heard of Dave Ramsey? Okay. Awesome. Very basic when it comes to financial concepts. One is called More Than Enough, and the other one is called Financial Peace. And he's got a really good radio show on, and excellent things. So my point being is, be careful who you listen to. Because remember, who you hang around with, right? You tend to learn from them or tend to do the same things that they do, okay? And, you know, your friends may know a lot about financial literacy, and that's great. Learn from them. But they may not either, okay? And you got to be careful about that. Other things, continue to take courses, come to conferences, go to conferences. You know, you can write that off if you've got a home-based business. I've talked about this in level 1. Feel free to take this course again, okay? Because I don't know about you, but the first time I hear something, don't always get it. Sometimes I got to hear it 2 or 3 times. Or you hear it a different way, right? It's no different than watching a movie 10 times, right? Every time you watch it, you get something new out of it. Why is that? Because there's so much going on, especially in a course like this where we've gone through so much material. Like I've always said, we could have spent 10 weeks just talking about how to pick stocks. Okay? So there's a lot of information. Feel free to come back. I might even change the assignments. Okay. So, sorry? Exactly. Third lesson. Talked enough about this, right? Have updated goals. Both short, medium, and long term. Remember, less than 3% of people actually write out their goals. So you had to do that for your homework. You're in the top 3%. Less than 1% actually rewrite or review them. Okay? How many of us have been reading our goals? Good, Randy. Okay? Why not? Why aren't you reading your goals? It's pretty simple, isn't it? I'm sorry? Again, we talked about the sharks in the States, the Shark Tank. They talk about the importance of reading your goals every day. Some of them talk about writing your goals out every day. Think about them as you've already achieved them, right? Napoleon Hill, one of my best quotes, whatever the mind can believe in, conceive, it can achieve, right? Don't underestimate the power of your goals, okay? Here's my goals right here. Try to read it every day. Sometimes I don't get it, okay? But I've also added to these goals over the last couple of weeks, okay? First time I think I talked to you about them, I had about 8. Now I've got 12, right? You should be adding to your goals, reviewing your goals based on what you're learning, okay? Check your teachability index. Remember that? What's your attitude when you're about to learn something, when you're about to go to a movie, go to a restaurant, right? You're excited because you're anticipating that you're going to get something out of it. If you're not there, if you're not engaged, you're probably not going to get anything out of it. Check your teachability index because it's your willingness to learn from others. And why is that important? Because it's quicker and uses other people's experience, okay? When you read my book, okay, you'll find in there that hopefully the mistakes that I made, you don't make. That's why we read books. That's why we listen to podcasts, all those type of things. We're trying to learn from people that have done it before. Okay? But what is your willingness to learn from others? And then, not only that, what's your willingness to accept change? So now that you know something, what's your willingness to do something about it? Because there's a lot of people that listen. I've done this too, a lot of times. I listen, but I don't do. Right? So check your teachability index at all times. Okay, lesson number 5. Talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about multiple streams of income. Start a home-based business. Why? Why is it important to have a home-based business? Well, first of all, it adds another stream of income. And again, remember, it's just another income that's coming to you. But then another important part of it is the tax advantages. Okay, we just talked about all the things that are happening every year with budgets where, you know, our taxes continue, we continue to pay more taxes. Okay, what are you doing to reduce that tax bill? The benefits, great income potential without the overhead. So you don't have to spend thousands of dollars, inventory, all that type of thing. A home-based business, you can actually get in with a few $100s. Remember, focus on making a small amount of money many times versus trying to make a lot of money one time. And like I always tell people, if you don't have a home-based business, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table over the course of your lifetime to CRA. Okay? And again, when it comes to the tax advantages, it allows you to write off expenses that you would have incurred anyway. So we talked about a home-based business in your home. You're still going to have to pay utilities for your home. Well, if you have a legitimate home-based business, you can write off a portion of the utilities from your home because you're running a business there. Okay? You're paying taxes anyway on the home. Right? You're paying interest on the home anyway. Really important to start a home-based business. Okay. Number 6. Warren Buffett says that the best investment you can make is investing in yourself. Okay, take a course, attend a seminar, conference, Udemy.com. Anybody ever heard of Udemy.com? Anybody? Yeah. Okay, you can go on there and you can get almost any course that you want. Finger painting, modeling, whatever. You can learn because there's just average people that are teaching those courses. So if you want to get up on something, right? Engage in creative activities. Develop certain areas of your brain and how to think differently. I can't wait to read my poetry book here because I don't usually read poetry. Because that's going to cause me to use part of my brain that I never use. Okay? But it's important to do that. Take things. Sorry? Oh, not a problem. Thank you. Yeah, do things outside your comfort zone. Spend money on experiences rather than stuff. This is really important, especially in, family relationships and things like that. Go on a vacation versus buying, the latest sneakers for your kids, right? They'll remember the vacation a lot more than the sneakers, right? But it applies to us too, personally, right? Spend money on experiences because you'll never forget that versus the Michael Kors purse. Sorry, ladies. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, I was looking at that. I said, man, we're paying our MCA Executive director too much. Oh, it was gifted. Okay, yeah. Anyway, spend money on experiences, travel, right? As often as you can, including internationally, learn different cultures, different types of food. It widens our perspectives on things. But not only that, it could offer business opportunities, right? You see something in another country that you could bring into Canada, right? Or maybe something in Canada that you want to export to that country, right? It opens your eyes to those things. Invest in yourself. Okay, I've talked about this quite a few times. Engage in active networking. So what is networking? It's the exchange of information and ideas amongst individuals, groups that share a common interest. And this can be either social, for social purposes or business purposes. You can do it personally, or people do it online today, but it's really good to do things personally, right? If there is a meetup meeting, a chamber of commerce meeting, those type of things, right? Where you actually talk to people, it's a lot better than the online. But you could have, network with people online too. Business connections may form due to an individual's education, employer, industry, or colleagues. Okay, who's on LinkedIn? Good. So make sure that you connect with me so I can keep up to speed with what's going on. But that's an important part, right? LinkedIn is a way for you to see what's kind of going on. You look at people's feeds. That's where I see a lot of opportunities too. Right? And it may not even be individuals in your connections. It may be people in those people's connections 2 and 5 levels down. That you see a feed or a post that they put up that said, hey, I need to look at that. Okay? But if you're not doing that, then you can't really complain about not getting opportunities, because that's one of the biggest things people say to me. Well, how do you hear about this opportunity? How do you hear about real estate deals? How do you hear about private deals? How do you hear about home-based businesses? Okay, well, if you're not networking, you're not going to hear about it. Okay, remember that your network will determine your net worth. Who you hang around will affect your financial position. I always talk about this, right? They say that your net worth is the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Okay? Doesn't mean that you want to go dump all your poor friends and look for rich ones, but or ask for their financial statement before you yeah, sure, not a problem. No, but it is important, right? Who we hang around with, right? But you do it for the opportunities. Many opportunities will come through networks and word of mouth. So if you're not developing that, if you're not putting time into it, don't be surprised if you're not going to hear about opportunities. And again, both current and future opportunities. It may mean that, the current opportunity that you're looking at is not for you, but maybe in the future it may be. Okay? Number 8, develop strong, positive habits. Okay? So we've talked about the importance of having good habits, writing out your goals, reading your goals every day, listening to the business news, right? Those type of things. But we develop habits by selecting a habit that you want to change, do it every day for 30 days, and it will form into a habit for you. So you want to quit smoking, do it for 30 days. You want to work out, do 50 push-ups a day, do it for 30 days. Chances are it's going to become a habit. Okay? Read and rest, right? They're talking a lot about the importance of rest nowadays, right? Trying to get whatever, 7 to 9 hours a day, your body needs it because our minds are going all the time. We're doing things physically. Important to rest. Develop that habit. Obviously, exercise. No use being financially well off if you can't enjoy it because your health is not there. You got to keep yourself physically in shape, eat well. Set up a day for success with a morning routine. I started doing something about 20 years ago that changed my life. I started waking up at a half an hour earlier because I always said that I didn't have enough hours in the day. How many hours in the day? 24? How many do you have? Yeah, how about you? Yeah. So why is it that some people can do more things in 24 hours than I can? Right? So I started waking up a half an hour earlier, right? Pray, meditate for whatever, 10, 15 minutes, what do you have to do? Exercise for another 10, 15 minutes. And then for the last 10, 15 minutes, figure out what you're doing for the day. You do that, by the time that's over, most people haven't even woken up yet. Okay, but it changed my whole life. So set up your day for success. The other thing is around disconnecting, right? We're on this thing, what? Some of us during class too? All the time, right? So disconnect from that, right? Before you go to bed. Try to put it away because it does affect your mind, right? Your mind is racing all the time. Okay. Lesson 9. Apply the information that you already know. Take action. It's the application of knowledge that brings results. Without actions, it's as if we didn't have it to begin with, right? So there's no use learning about financial concepts if you're never going to take action on them. There was a study done, I think I may have talked about this, in North America where they looked at safety incidents. And they found out that 80% of safety incidents are due to human behavior, human failure, and 20% on mechanical and things like that. And then they looked at those 80%, and another 90% of those were because individuals didn't follow a policy, a procedure, a practice. So the people knew about the policy, the practice, the protocol, but still didn't do it. Okay? The curse of much knowledge is indecision, right? Ever go to the Cheesecake Factory? Who's been to the Cheesecake Factory? Okay, they give you a menu about this thick. Okay? I don't know about you, but I can't decide when you give me that many choices. Right? You just keep going through the whole pages. What am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Right? Paralysis by analysis. The other thing to remember is that you're not going to be perfect on everything. If you get to 80% of something, go ahead and do it. Because the last 20% may take a long time or it may never happen. Let go of your childhood stories. Anybody know what I mean by that? What does that mean? Yeah, things that happened to you when you were in elementary. Yeah, doesn't matter. Move on. Because if you keep focusing on that, right? In the book, I talk a lot about money shame, which is one of the things that prevents people from moving ahead, right? They make a bad financial decision, whether it was their fault or not, and then they're scared to do anything ever again. But it's more because they're ashamed of what they've done. You don't have to be ashamed. Everybody learns by mistakes. Move on. Forget about those. The other thing is about setting a limit and then decide. Get it off your plate. Get into the habit of doing your due diligence. So what do I mean by that? There's a lot of opportunities that may come your way. Don't just put it aside and let it pile up. Look at it, do your due diligence, and then get it off your plate. What most people do, or I used to do this a lot, you have all these things and you just look at it and then put it on the plate. Then something else comes and you put that on the plate. Next thing you know, your plate's like this and you haven't done anything. The other thing is that some of these things have a time limit. Okay? You don't have hours, sometimes days, months to make a decision on something. You have to act quickly, but you still want to do your due diligence. Okay, over the course of the program, you've gotten lesson notes. Okay, reread that material. Do the assignments again. Okay, I'm not going to mark them, but you can do the assignments again. You got the solution. See if you learned something. Right? Apply the one about how to pick stocks. Apply that assignment to another company and do it. Okay. The next one, really important, the last lesson. Alignment with partner for success is imperative. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so in class, sometimes people come, as a couple, which is great. Okay, and that's important because two brains better than one, obviously. More household income. Both have the knowledge, the financial knowledge, or you can teach each other, which is great. But you need to be aligned. If you're in a relationship with someone, okay, you need to be aligned when it comes to finances. Because who knows that the number one reason for divorce is, do we know? Financial. Why is that? Because finances, go back to lesson 1, is our core values. We come into those relationships with those core values, whatever they are, and they're very strong. So when you're not aligned with the person that you're with, it can cause a lot of problems. Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to be at the same level of knowledge, but you have to be going in the same direction. Okay? That's why we usually have more women come out to this class than men. I thought it was just because of me, but that's not true, of course. No, guys send their wives or their girlfriends, you go take it, and then you come back and teach me, or, that's not for me, right? Okay? But being in line with and aligned with your partner, very important. Okay. And then many of these habits that we talked about actually overlap. The habit of doing your due diligence on opportunities. Okay, so last week we talked about cryptocurrencies, brought in a guest speaker. Anybody remember who it was? Thank you. Okay, Brian came in, talked for half an hour, 45 minutes on just cryptocurrencies, AI, what's happening, okay? Typically in a class like that, 1 or 2 people will actually follow up on that. So 3 years ago, he came in, because I usually bring him in or someone else, and he did a presentation, again, talked about cryptocurrencies and talked about an opportunity. Okay? That was 2 years ago. So at that time, presented it again to a class of 10 to 15 people. I think 2 people called him. 1 person invested. Okay? So let's look at what he did, or what that opportunity did. It did an annual return, we looked at this last week, 850% in 2 years. Is that good or bad? Okay. We learned that the average return on the stock market was what? 6 to 8%. So when you get 850% over 2 years, that's pretty good. Okay, one person actually invested. Okay, that person's pretty happy. Now, people will say, well, I don't have money. Okay, well, this thing was $100. So a person that invested $100 made 800 in 2 years. Is that good or bad? So you see, this is the problem. Just like we talked about the stocks, when you don't decide that you're going to invest in a stock, most people never go back and say, why did I not invest in that stock? They never go back and say, how much did John Deere finally go up to? Right? Because if I could get all those 15 people back that saw that and said, okay, is there anything to learn from this? This is not to shame you. This is to say, okay, you lost this opportunity, not a big deal. Let's move on. But what can you learn from that? Well, I should have either looked at it, I should have come up with $100. Okay? But this is what I mean by people getting information but not doing anything with it. So don't get into the habit of just collecting information. Get into the habit of doing your due diligence. Networking. Okay? So even if you don't do this investment, just knowing that there's someone out there that does those type of things, just to say, you know what, if something else comes along, this is not for me, but if something comes along, let me know. I don't know if he'll give you a call or not, but it doesn't matter. But that's how you network. That's how you do that in real estate too. In real estate, if you don't buy a property, but you tell the real estate agent, hey, let me know if something comes up, maybe they'll call you back. But if you never don't do anything, you're not going to get a call. It's a home-based business potential. Some of these things that we've talked about, you can actually start a home business and start getting tax write-offs. And then who are you listening to? Okay? Are you listening to people that are successful? Because if they've done it once, maybe they can do it again. Maybe you can do it. Oh no, that's a scam. Okay? And then again, just take action. Okay. So we are done. So questions? Any questions about tonight, about anything that we've talked about over the last 10 weeks? Anything that you wanted to ask but were afraid to ask? And you waited till the last lesson? Yeah, so if you run a home-based business, CRA allows you to write off any expenses associated with that part of the house that you're doing business with, okay? So if you have 1,000 square foot home or apartment, okay, and let's say that you have a home office that's 20%, 200 square feet. If you have rent, 20% of the rent that you pay, you can write off. If you own the home, 20% of utilities, 20% of your property tax, 20% of interest that you pay on that mortgage. Okay? Yeah, you can write it off legitimately. Okay? So again, you would have had those expenses anyway, right? But having a home-based business allows you now to do that. Okay, anything else? Len, you must have some questions.
Actually, just on that point, how does the CRA policy improve
Okay, so yeah, so first of all, you got to realize that when it comes to audits, very few people get selected for audits. Yeah, the other thing is that if you do get audited, you have to prove, you can just let them know that this is the square footage of my house. This is what I'm using. What are they going to say? No, it's 150, not 200. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big. Now, when it comes to the,
Michelle is sick and she's outside the door.
okay. When it comes to the writing off vehicle expense, they are a little bit more interested in that because a lot of people try to do that, right? So you can also write off vehicle expense if you have a business, but you're supposed to maintain a log of what you do, what you drive personally versus what you drive for the business. Okay, so they may ask you for that log, so you better have it. But when it comes to the house thing, chances are of getting audited are very low, but you still have the right to do that. Okay? Anything else? Wow, quiet group.
Hey, just a comment, not a question. Just going through some of these things that you covered over the week. The one thing that I guess I'm kind of taking away a lot, but one that sort of stands out, why it's coming to mind now, but it's just when you're looking at stocks, too, the exercise that we went through with evaluating,
Right?
business and that, I just think that's really, really good and very applicable, and the method that you covered on how to do it. I think that's one of my key things.
Yeah, no, and the reason you do that is because there's an emotional decision that you're making financially. And when you make that decision, you should make it because it makes sense financially, not because, you do Carnival cruises, right? You shouldn't invest in Carnival just because you go on cruises, even though that's a good idea, because if you look at that industry, it's doing well. And if you do the analysis, you'll feel even better about investing in Carnival, right? So it's not just to put homework on you, but it's to do your due diligence so that you feel good about the decision that you've made, so that even if it does go down, at least you said, hey, listen, I made my decision. But if you don't do that analysis and it goes down, you kind of, psychologically you're saying, oh man, I screwed up again, right? Which is not true, right? Do your homework on it, make a decision. But if you use that format on how to pick stocks, you're going to do, a majority of the time, you're going to do well on them. Okay, nothing else? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and we'll do the presentations. Huh? It's fine.
April. So lots of sound will go, right?
Yeah, but if it's very disturbing when you're on the phone all the time. I told people from the beginning, like, I don't care if you don't want to come, don't come.
Oh, I do want to come. I can multitask, Jay.
But it's
Okay.
it's very
Yes, I
like
know.
I don't, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Okay, it's just very disruptive to me,
Okay.
and I just find it's just rude.
Okay, if you find it rude, I wish you would have said something.
I
Because-
said at the beginning of the course,
Okay, I wasn't there, remember, day one I
okay,
got there.
well, I said, you know
Okay.
what, if you're on the phone,
Mhm.
like, it's just rude. Like, it's almost like you don't want to be there, or you're
So
not,
you would rather me not be here at all?
well, because,
And then do my stuff like studying, order supplies and stuff if I have like so much on the go right now. Because I did want to be here and bring like food, right? Which I did prepare.
listen,
Mhm.
it's your decision. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's-
but like,
but it's just,
You
it's
know, when you
just,
make a commitment to something, so you'd be there, but you, out of everything that is happening with your life, you still make an effort to be there. And I'm showing you that I have this effort and I'm here for like that reason.
I don't take it that way.
Okay, but
So-
like from your perspective, you don't see it that way.
Yeah.
But we never had this conversation, so you can't see things from my side.
So I actually said at the beginning of the classes,
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of that, so I
Well,
wish we had this conversation
that-
earlier.
that's just basic
Mhm.
courtesy, Shirley. Don't tell me that, okay? That's just basic courtesy. When you're somewhere,
Mhm.
okay? If you and I went out,
I would not be on my phone
Well.
if you and I went out.
okay, it's
And like I
okay.
said,
Listen, listen,
Okay, can I just explain myself, please? Because we're already having this conversation. You know that one class you talked about scholarships and grants, right?
Right.
Pull up my laptop. I applied for this business grant
right,
that my friend told me about.
okay?
So I don't know why you think I am on my phone all the time because in the past I have pulled up my iPad. I've written notes. So it's this class, a previous class, and I just
Listen,
I
it's,
just,
it's,
you know.
it's very disruptive to me as a speaker.
okay.
And
And
I-
at the same time
and-
too, it's like
and I don't know what you're doing,
Mhm.
okay? And you can multitask, it's fine.
Yes.
But it's just rude, okay?
But at the same time too, it's like you called me out multiple times. And also, and
Twice.
classes ends from like 7 to 9. So when 9 comes, I expect to be done. And if I have somewhere to be, like, I try to like bring myself out of the classroom.
Which you do,
But-
which is fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I'm saying.
But what I'm trying to say is, I don't mean to disrespect you. If you
Okay,
don't
well,
find that
well,
disrespectful.
that's what that's how I see it. Because I feel like you're not listening at all.
Mhm.